Hi everyone. Today I want to talk about something a little bit controversial, maybe a little bit fun. So I was reading the paper again the other day and I saw an article about the whole unretirement trend. There's just been so many articles on the concept of unretirement, and really what they're talking about is people that would normally retire because they are in their 60s, early 60s, maybe late 50s, are choosing to work longer and should consider to choose working longer. The reasoning that a lot of these articles give for that is that A, our longevity spans are increasing, so we are living longer, and therefore potentially we could outlive our money. Secondly, that we might get bored if we retire too soon. And thirdly, that our quality of life and our lifestyle will decrease if we retire because we're going to be living on less money. I absolutely 100% disagree with all of that. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I'm almost like at the point where I'm thinking that society, someone out there just wants us to not retire. Employers want us to work longer. The system wants us to work longer. So let's talk about that in this video. Hi, my name is Raina and this is Small Retired Life. And on my channel, we talk about all things to do with retirement and living our best lives in our 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and beyond. If you're new, welcome here. So listen, when I read these articles about postponing your retirement and working longer and how people are choosing to work longer, I have to be honest and say I wish I had retired a lot earlier than I did. And actually, I wish I had retired when that opportunity was handed to me and I stepped back from it for a little bit. So if some of you are new and you don't know my story, I got laid off from a job when I was 56 years old. I was in a position where I was able to retire financially. Now, it was a place where my retirement would be very simple, very basic. I wouldn't have a huge budget, but I could retire. Instead, I listened to too many people that said, oh, you're 56, you're too young to retire, you need to work longer, you need to save more money, have a little bit more in your piggy bank to be on the safe side. I kind of got swayed by a lot of these arguments and I panicked. And essentially within about half a year, I went and found a contract position that was 1 year long and went back to work. And the week I went back and started that contract job, I knew I made a big mistake. When I finally finished that job after a year, I retired and I never looked back. Now, I really wish that I had a different perspective when I first got laid off and that I would have just retired straight off the get-go. Instead of going through this 1 year angst of being back at work, absolutely hating it, and questioning why there was no one out there who told me, hey, just don't even bother going back to work, retire because of this, this, and that. So I am here to give you all of the things and all of the reasons as to why retiring as soon as possible can be the most fulfilling thing you'll ever do. When I say that I believe I wish I had retired earlier, has nothing to do with me hating my life or hating the career that I had chosen or where I was at during that point of my life. But it was more about the fact that I never realized how restricted I really was until I actually retired. When I retired, no one was talking about retirement in terms of freedom and living the life you want. There were really no channels like there are now of people who had retired and who were on YouTube talking about how amazing it was. It just wasn't a thing back in, well, I guess that was back in 2020. So already 6 years ago. It's really interesting how I never even thought about going on YouTube and listening to someone who perhaps was retired or had a retirement channel. It wasn't something that was really apparent at the time. Instead, the messaging that was coming to me was, don't retire too early. You're 56. You're way too young. You are going to be so bored. How are you going to fill your day? You're going to be a nobody. You are so and so at such and such.com right now. You have an email, an actual business email. And when you retire, all of that's gone. You will lose your friends because your colleagues won't even remember that you exist. And any of those friendships that you made at work will be gone because you will be in a different place. That was the prevalent messaging that was coming at me at the time. And I have to say, it had an impact because I was scared of retirement. Even though my sister was retired, she retired way before I did. And I had this great example of someone who was living a fulfilling life. I was thinking in terms of, oh yeah, they're retired, but they still have a business because they had a small business that was kind of fun. And I never kind of translated that to mean, hey, when you retire, you can have a small business and do whatever it is that you want. I was hearing the messaging that said you will be bored, you'll get old faster, you won't be able to fill your day, you're going to be poor. Those were the messages that were really hitting home at the time. These messages were so wrong and so backwards, because what if retirement is not the end of the road? What if retirement is the beginning of all of the exciting things, all of the dreams that you wanted to have come true? All of a sudden you had the opportunity and the freedom to go after them. That was not the messaging that I was getting. Yet maybe that's the messaging that should be out there. Let's be honest, when you work for someone else, or when you're working some kind of a career or some kind of a job, but you're working for a company or for, be it a large corporation or a small business or somebody, there is this silent contract that is actually in place. Now we have physical contracts in place, but there's this other one, this other contract that is in place that we typically don't really think about to any great extent. When you work a job, no matter how prestigious or how wonderful or how you actually work that job, whether it's in an office or at home, there is this agreement between you and the employer. You are trading your time for their money. You trade your energy for stability and you trade your freedom for structure. And when this is happening, it feels so normal because everyone else out there that you know is doing this as well. This is a script. This is the archetype that we have been taught is the way to live and the way to be. All of this feels so normal. You wake up when you're told to wake up. You go to where you're told to go to. You answer to people that you haven't chosen, and you obey rules that you have had no hand in creating. This all feels normal and it doesn't feel like a cage because everyone else is doing it as well. And you know, this is life. We have been programmed to do this since we were tiny children. We may go to daycare where someone else is telling us what to do and giving us the parameters of the day. We go to school where teachers are giving us their opinions, and the more you kind of follow the script that is accept it as a norm, the more you are rewarded for it. And then you go to university or post-secondary school, and it's the same script, the same schedule, and then on to your working life where, yes, perhaps you have a little bit more autonomy, but essentially it's always someone else's rules and someone else's demands and control. Every employer, no matter how accommodating and wonderful they are or how progressive they are, ultimately wants the same thing. They want access to your time. They all need the hours that you're going to give them. They need your energy, they need your expertise, and they need your attention so that they can sell the product or service that they serve up to their customers or clients or the public at large if you're working for the government. Now, none of that is evil. That is how life works. That is the norm. And we certainly expect that whenever we apply for any kind of a job or position. Over time, though, this arrangement creeps into places where you didn't even think about the fact that they would be encroached. All of a sudden, your morning schedule belongs to someone else. If you want to take vacation days, you need approval. It's not uncommon that in today's work, you get emails and requests for answers after hours, and there's an expectation that you will jump to it. Pretty soon, even Sundays are no longer sacred, as the stress of what is coming up on Monday begins to leach into your Sunday evenings, and now you're experiencing Mondays. Even in the absolutely best jobs, your time is organized around someone else's objectives. One of the greatest myths that a lot of these articles mention about retirement is that you will be bored. And I really have to laugh at that now, because boredom doesn't come with the fact that you have more freedom. Boredom is a direct result of you having lost touch with yourself. You not understanding who you really are, because you have spent decades being someone that someone else wanted you to be. Now you retire and you have this idea that you're just all of a sudden going to become the perfect person in the perfect situation. Just like anything else, it needs time to percolate a little bit. Just like it took you time to learn your job and to be good at your career and at what you were doing, it takes a little bit of time to learn how to be retired. And none of these articles talk about the fact that you need to take time to discover who you are again, the things that you are passionate about, the things that you really want to do. And yes, for some people, they may know right away, and other people, it may take a few months. And for people like myself, it took a few years. But the reality is that you can't figure any of that out unless you retire and allow yourself to be the person that you actually are inside yourself, and the person that you want to be. None of these articles actually focus on the steps that you should be taking once you're retired to reestablish your own self, your own personality, and truly utilize and appreciate the freedom and the opportunities that come with being retired. Boredom has nothing to do with retirement. Who is writing these articles? Clearly, it's not people who are retired, or it's not people that have actually done the work to figure out who they are once they are retired. They just get retired, they're bored for a few weeks, and they go back to work because they're too lazy to do the work to figure out what's next. I remember the very first moment, like after I truly retired, after I finished that contract job, and the day I woke up, the day after the before life, and now this is the day where the new life starts. And I got up in the morning and I had actually slept in. I remember that really clearly, and it felt so amazing. And I got up and I made a cup of coffee and I sat down and I realized that I had this entire day ahead of me to do whatever I wanted. No one was telling me what to think. No one was telling me what to do. No one was involving me in some form of groupthink that I hated during a meeting or some kind of strategy session. I had this calm, quiet day to just be, to just ponder my life and to think about where I was going to go from this day forward. That is just such a priceless moment. If any of you are not retired yet, but you're close to it and that day is coming, remember what I'm telling you. Savor that first day. Don't rush. Don't have to do anything. Give yourself that day to be absolutely free. No demands, no requests by anyone. Do what makes you feel happy and what makes you feel good. For me, retirement feels like a little personal rebellion because no one gets to tell me what to do anymore. The fact that I'm not working anymore doesn't somehow end my life. Actually, it started my life. It allowed me to do all of these things that I never thought I would do before. I never thought I'd be doing YouTube and making money off YouTube, and I love it. It's my own creation, my own little business, my own baby. I work my hours. I talk about what I want to talk about. I do the videos that I want to do. Even though I have a business, I prioritize my day. I decide what I'm going to do in a day and how much I'm going to work, how many videos I will produce. I choose how much money I'm going to make. Ultimately, everything is up to me. And I'm not saying that every job is bad and every employer is bad, but no matter how enlightened a workplace is, at the end of the day, each corporate organism, each business has their own goals and objectives that they want to meet, their own business plan. And that business plan does not belong to you. You are not the one who created it. Someone else did. Whoever owns the entity, whoever runs the entity, they're in charge of that business plan, and you need to fit in. And essentially, as long as you're fitting in, by giving them your time and part of your freedom, they will keep you. The minute that you no longer fit the business plan, you will be let go. That is the reality. It doesn't matter who the employer is and how much they like you. Let me just talk about financial freedom for a little bit. Retirement is really contingent on you having enough money to retire. I really believe that it is in the best interest of corporations, of businesses, of banks, that you remain in debt or that you live beyond your means, because then you will depend on your job and on keeping your job. This dependence means you will give up your time and you will give up your autonomy, and you are now dependent on that employer. Hence, you'll be more apt to do what they want you to do and to fit in with their goals and objectives and agree with them, even if you really kind of don't. Financial freedom allows you to get outside of that. We don't teach enough in high schools about how important financial freedom is and the empowerment that it gives to individuals. I know of individuals that have never made a lot of money, but financial freedom as a goal, and they made that a priority in their life. Every time you buy something, you're giving up a little bit of your freedom. The argument that articles give you about the fact that if you retire too early, the quality of your life is going to be lower because you will not be able to consume as much. Your ability to be a consumer is diminished. This is a falsehood to watch out for because it's advantageous for the economy, for businesses, corporations, that you keep working because they keep making money when they have employees that comply. People that are retired and aren't working for someone are no longer controllable. Just something to consider. I know it's a little bit out there, but I have the time to think about things that are a little bit out there. When you're financially free, you make the decision. You are empowered. You have personal power. And there is nothing more important than personal power. Just something to think about. Freedom in retirement is not always dramatic. Sometimes it's about the small things. It's about waking up when you want to, having a cup of coffee in the morning, organizing your day however you want to organize it, having the ability to change your mind halfway through and choosing to do something outside of the plans. That is true freedom. Freedom in retirement is all about choosing your energy and choosing how you expend it. And it's not about being lazy, but it's about being a little bit more intentional and giving yourself the opportunity to discover who you really are. Because time is truly your own, you kind of stop living on autopilot and you are able to truly discern what it is that you want, what makes you happy, what is perhaps something that should be left in the past. If I had to go back and tell my younger self something, it would be retire sooner. Yes, be responsible, save money, make sure you're going to be okay and that you can retire, but do it sooner than you think about doing it. Don't fall into the narrative that working longer is somehow nobler, that by working longer, you're offsetting boredom, that you are providing yourself with a better quality of life, and that you are more of a productive member of society. This is not a narrative that I agree with, that I think even makes sense, actually. And it's someone else's narrative, and you have to question why this is coming up again and again. Who is writing this article? What's in it for them? Who is perpetuating the concept that you have to work into your 70s or something? I think we need to question some of these things that are being pushed and that are being perpetuated because they don't always make sense if you really think about them. When I look at my retired friends today, they are doing phenomenal things. They are artists, they are poets, they are business owners, they are travelers, they are happy procrastinators, they are hobbyists and makers. There is this intense variety of people who are doing amazing things in retirement that have nothing to do with working longer in some job that is encroaching on their time and on their freedom. This is all I have for this week, just something to think about. I will see you all next week at my regular time, and leave your comments in the comment section below. Bye!